guys see me looking down, it's because I have my list. I have my expenses list like this. Okay. Oh, let me throw it about. Yeah, like this. I have my expenses list. So I basically, hey guys, welcome back again to another video, guys. So you asked me for my monthly expenses here in London, because some people were like, we live in London, it's so expensive, we can't afford it. So as your internet sister, I'm going to be doing justice. In today's video, I'm going to be telling you back to back how much I spend in London, or basically my monthly expenses here in London, so that you guys have an idea of how things work in London. And I'll also be sharing some juicy tips with you in this video of some money saving tips, or some things that you can do to save you all of your coins in this UK. Okay, if it's your first time of coming across my channel, my name is Becca. I'm an overseas nurse, or I'm a migrant nurse. I'm from Ghana in West Africa. I'm currently practicing and living in England. If you're a returning subscriber, all I say is a very big thank you for always coming back to the channel. And if you are new to this channel, subscribe down below and turn on your post notification bell icon. That way you wouldn't miss any time I upload a video. So for those of you who have been following me for some time now, I relocated from Kent to London, and I've been in London for 7 months now. I have been in London and I live on my own. That it means I live in my own flat, and I'm going to be sharing with you some tips or my expenses here in London. This is following my income video I did, where I shared how much I earn in a month, and people were kind of like, you live in London, so it's going to be expensive because all of your money is going to be going into expenses or rent. It all depends on how you live your life, and it all depends on, how you are spending your money. I don't know if it's because I read a bit of economics back in high school, so I am very careful and I'm very particular about every penny. To me, every penny counts. So I usually close my expenses on the 9th of every month. That is where I pay my rent, which is the chunk of my money. So after the 9th of the month, I close my expenses for the whole month. So these expenses I'm going to be talking about is from the 9th of January to the 9th of February this year, 2022. The first on the list, obviously, is, guess, the rent, which is the hugest part of the money that goes out of the account. So I live in Greater London, and it's divided in north, south, east, and west, and is divided in boroughs as well. So I live in the borough that is within Greater London, which I chose because of proximity to work. And I chose this particular borough because where my workplace is in in London, the cost of living, it also is in levels. So the cost of living is in levels. So where my care home is in a very posh area, which is very expensive, which I wouldn't rent, not because I can't afford, but I wouldn't want to throw my money about like that. So I moved a bit further, which is like 20 minutes by drive. And I got this accommodation, beautiful accommodation on Zoopla. And it is a studio apartment that came not finished, but they gave me an option to choose if I wanted it to be partly finished. And I chose for it to be partly finished. So it came with a double bed, a fridge freezer, and a microwave. Every other thing in the house, I had to buy it myself. So for this studio apartment, and for those of you who do not know a studio apartment is a one large double room with a kitchenette and a shower room. And fortunately for me, in this apartment, I have a closet and I have a huge storage space where I store my things that I don't longer use, or things that I have bought but I'm not going to be using for now. I put them in the storage space. So I chose this apartment because of, number one, privacy, because I told you guys I was living in a shared house for a period until I moved to London. So I wanted that kind of private life. So I took the studio apartment for that reason. The second reason was because of the fact that it was a bit closer to work and the price was super cool. So for this studio apartment, I am paying £750, which includes all bills except Wi-Fi. So when we talk about all bills, that is council tax, electricity, and water. I don't use gas in this apartment. So the council tax is things that you pay to the council for keeping the environment clean and in good shape, like the street lights and all the things that needs to keep the council running. That is council tax, which was stated in my rent that is going to be paid by my landlord, and electricity, which is also paid by my landlord, and water, which is paid by the landlord. So these things I do not pay for. Once I pay my rent of £750 per month, all of these things are embedded in the rent. Apart from this, for the rent, I pay for my own Wi-Fi, or I buy my own Wi-Fi. So I chose my broadband company that is giving me the Wi-Fi that is unlimited, so I can use everything up to maximum of 5 people. Even if 4 people come to add up to me to live here, we can all use this Wi-Fi unlimited. And for that, I am paying £23.50 for the Wi-Fi for every month. The last thing I pay for in this accommodation is insurance. And I opted to pay for this insurance because before my very eyes, I saw a house burn into ashes. I witnessed it with my eyes, and the occupant of the house didn't take a dime from the house. So I decided to do this insurance of insuring my valuables in this property, just in case of accidental damage or fires. I can claim up to 30k. Just in case. I know nothing will happen, but just in case. So for this insurance, I'm paying £17.44 per month. That is it for my expenses pertaining to accommodation, transportation. So I drive. For the car, there are 5 things I pay for about this car. I pay for the tax, the road tax. I pay for the car insurance. I pay for parking. I pay for fuel. I pay for MOT and servicing. So for the tax is road tax. That is the tax you pay for the car to be eligible to be used on the roads. Every car in UK is taxed for road. Okay, so for the road tax, I am paying £170 for the whole year. For insurance, because I was a new driver, or I am a new driver, I don't even know what to say, whether I am or I was, but I am driving for the first time in the UK. My insurance premium was a bit higher. So for the insurance, I am paying £1,200 for the entire year. So if you split it per month, it means I'm paying £100 per month. For parking, I live in a controlled zone. So when we talk about controlled zone is a zone which has parking times or parking schedules. Okay, so for where I live is in a controlled zone where we park on the street, which is not free. So for the parking for the whole year, I'm paying £330 for the whole year, which is quite expensive. But I don't know, this barrel, I can't explain it. For fuel, I buy a fuel between £85 to £100 per month, depending on how far I am traveling for the month and the amount of mileages I am covering for the month. So it's not something that is fixed. So between £85 to £100 per month. For MOT, when I bought this car, it had a new MOT. MOT is basically explaining that the car is in good shape and it's able to be used on the roads. So when I bought this car, it was recently or newly MOT'd, and so for now it's not due for its next MOT at the moment, and it's not had any servicing issues that has to be sent for servicing, so I haven't serviced it yet. But when I looked at the estimate online, I'm going to be spending like around 200 for servicing and MOT, but I haven't done that yet, so that wouldn't be part of the expenses. For miscellaneous expenses for transportation, there are some places in London that I don't drive to. I prefer to use the public transport because the transport system is great and it's easier to get there by public transport rather than driving. And because also parking in those areas is a big deal, especially around central London. Getting parking is very difficult, and even if you get the parking, the money you would have to pay to park is very difficult, and if you don't park right, you can get penalty. So since I started driving, I've had 2 parking penalties already. I don't want to add onto it. I want to avoid much drama as possible. So there are some areas that I don't drive to. Also, we have this low emission zone. We have this control zone. There are some areas within central London that when you are driving through those areas, you have to pay some fees before you drive through these areas. So in London, parking is a big deal. Driving is a big deal. So for miscellaneous, that is when I'm using the public transport, I set up like 50 to 60 pounds per month, depending on where and how far I am traveling. So that is it for transportation. Now to phone. So I use a phone that has an unlimited broadband that I buy every month. And for that, I pay 20 pounds because sometimes you are probably in the car, you want to use your GPS, you want to have access to the Wi-Fi, or you want to have access to internet. So for this, I pay 20 quid every month for my phone, broadband, and unlimited calls, of course, to UK numbers and within the European Union. I also joined the Royal College of Nurses, and I would recommend this for every nurse who is in the UK to join a trade union, because the Royal College of Nurses or other trade unions have a lot of roles that they play for nurses, ranging from job fairs or job trade, job advertisement, to career growth advice, counseling, everything you can think of pertaining to professionalism or pertaining to building you as a professional can be gotten from this trade union. They even go to the extent of giving you legal support or legal advice in case you have or you are confronted with any legal issues. So I joined the Royal College of Nurses, and for my dues per month, I pay £8.20 every month towards Royal College of Nurses. I love food. I love to eat good food, especially food I have cooked with my own hands, and I love mostly to go local. Once in a while, I go the other way, but most of the times when I'm eating home, I love to eat my local African food. And so for food, that is for both my African food and my groceries, cupboard food, frozen foods, fresh foods, my small chops and all those, I spend between 200 and 250 pounds per month. But sometimes the things I buy can go across a month or can go over a month, because like for instance, the things I bought in January, for the month of January, I still have some of them, especially the cupboard foods and the frozen foods. I still have some of them that hasn't run out yet. So I just need to top up those ones. So between 200 and 250 pounds on food. Now, social. I do a lot of social activities just so that I don't get bored. So some is like going to the gym, going to use the pool, using the sauna and the steam, once in a while going out to see places and all that. For that, I set out 100 quid or 100 pounds for my social life clothing. Because the weather changes every now and then, you have to dress appropriately. And sometimes we overgrow our clothes. I don't know how it happens, but there's some clothes you wear this summer, by next summer you've outgrown the clothes, you need to change them. So for clothes, I set up, it's not every month I buy clothes, to be honest, but I set up like 50 pounds every now and then, so that when I'm ready to buy clothes, I don't need to struggle to buy clothes. For hair, it depends on the type of hair I'm doing, whether it's braids, it's a weave, the length of the braids, but mostly is between 90 to 120 pounds here in London. And that is it for hair. But because I am trying to learn how to do hair, and obviously I've done some videos on hair, which I'll recommend for most of my sisters, learn how to do your own hair, because it will save you a lot of money. Or if you have friends that can help you do hair, it's better to go to your friend to help you do your hair than going to the salon. Probably once in a while, if you want to have that salon treat, it's fine, but it's better to get somebody to help you do it, or you do it yourself, to help you save your money. For hair, I set up like 100 and 120, but if I am able to do the hair myself, I save this money and it goes into my emergency fund. For remittances, most of you who have been following me know that I have 3 daughters who are all back home at the moment. So for remittances towards these girls, I remit between 400 to 500 pounds per month, depending on what I am going to be spending on for them. Body care and skincare product, we all know that as females, we need certain things to keep us running, to keep us going. So for body care and skincare products, I spend between 50 to 100 pounds. And this is not on a monthly basis, because we know that some of the skincare products, you buy them and it lasts a bit more longer. Some can even last for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, or even up to 6 months. So I spend between 50 to 100 pounds on skincare products. Any other thing or any other money that is left outside this budget goes into my savings. So for my savings, I have split it into 3. I have my emergency cash, emergency card, and my other savings, or what we call the joint savings. Okay, so for my emergency cash, anything can happen. You live in a foreign land, your card can be stolen, can go down, it can go broken. You need money to keep you still running. So I have this emergency cash that I keep and make sure I always have at home. I also have the emergency card, which is money I put basically on my card that I keep on the card just in case anything happens. You still have a backup on your card. And then I have what we call the emergency joint. So we've come together as groups, which I'll also recommend for my fellow migrants if you want to be disciplined and want to save money. This is my personal expenses of living in London. The advice I'll give to you is, it's not everybody that likes the city life. It's not everybody that fancies living in a city, and also it's expensive living in a city. So if city life is not for you, don't go for it. Don't go for it. But if you think city life is for you, there are other ways of also staying in the city at a minimal price or at a minimum cost. And you can do this by not driving, because obviously the transportation system is super cool, because we have the tram, the train, the underground, the overground, the tubes, the buses are literally everywhere. So you can make use of these public transport and you wouldn't need to drive, and that will cut down your cost. Also for accommodation, you can live in a shared house. I even know a couple friend that live in a shared house. So what they've done is, the house is a 6-bedroom house and they have rented 2-bedroom out of the 6 for them and for their son that they live with. And for both 2 bedrooms within their shared house, they are paying £1,200 with bills, which is super cool because they live in Greater London. And so these are some of the things that people do to keep up to living in the city. If you are single, it's a brilliant opportunity for you. You can live in a shared house, and there are some shared houses that go as low as £400, as £500, even in Greater London. That is if you are using websites like Spare Room, Gumtree, and the likes. So if you think city life is for you, well, this is my personal expenses, but it's not a standard because some are over it and some are under it. But this is just my personal expenses. I think I've covered everything in this video, guys. Until we meet again in my next video, is bye for now. Adios.